In the words of the Bee Gees, the Packers are still staying alive. Sure, there may only be a 6% chance for the Green and Gold to make the playoffs, but it was still great to see Matt LaFleur keep his perfect record against Chicago. We'll recap the highly entertaining matchup from yesterday, look forward to next week's bye, and hear some feedback from our listeners. All this coming up next on your Packers Fan Podcast. I'm Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider Podcast, and I have good news and bad news. As you all know, the Packers defeated the Chicago Bears this weekend. As awesome as that is, Mr. Wayne Henderson isn't here to help me celebrate this week. Unfortunately, he's home very ill and not able to record. I do, however, have a very special guest joining us. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to the Packers Fan Podcast one of our listeners who also happens to be one of the writers on the Gaming Outsider Podcast, my good friend David Newman. How's it going, David?
Oh, it's going all right, especially after the Packers took care of the Bears this weekend.
It was a good time. Didn't think we were going to pull it off, but they did. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was nice to see after, being down for about, 55 minutes of the game, and then they finally came back.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the big question I've got for you, David, is are you going to bring as much, positivity and glass half full attitude that Mr. Wayne Henderson does?
I don't think that's ever going to be possible, but I will be as positive as I can be, especially after a Packers win.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into it. On this 266th episode of Your Packers Fan Podcast, David and I will recap the highs and lows from our defeat of the Bears. We'll share more of your great listener feedback, and we need to see how things are going in our Packers Fan Podcast Wager of Fun game prediction standings, and then take a look at the Packers' long-awaited bye. We will not be previewing the game against the Rams this week, as next week is the bye. We'll be saving that for our bye week episode, as well as hopefully some how you became a Packer fan talk. So if you've got some of those recordings or emails for us to tell us about how you became a Packers fan, we'd love to hear you and share those on next week's episode. But let's go ahead and jump into some of the highlights from the Packers game against the Bears. First off, we got those leaders. As always, we got to mention Aaron Rodgers, 18 out of 31 for 182 yards and 1 touchdown. A.J. Dillon, 18 carries for 93 yards and a touchdown. Allen Lazard had 5 catches for 67 yards. And Christian Watson, 3 catches, 48 yards, and 1 carry for 46 yards for a total of 2 touchdowns. Quite a day that guy had. He is doing great as a rookie. But want to get into it a little bit more here and talk about that fumble recovery that seemed to be quite a bit of a turning point for the Packers in the first half. Rasul Douglas stripped the ball. Rudy Ford recovered it. Unfortunately, this led to Green Bay turning it over on downs when they went for it on 4th and 8 that same series. I think it might be possible that we got away with one here, as it looks like the runner may have been down before he lost the ball. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I actually agree with you, Scott. I think that it didn't necessarily look like he did fumble. It looked like the ground may have caused it, but it went in the way of the Packers. Refs make mistakes. Challenge booth make mistakes, and it went our way. So I guess I can't complain too much.
Yeah, I definitely think that we got away with that one. I mean, there was no really good angle. But just the angle that we did see really made it feel like he was down. I mean, there was the one angle from the sideline in particular that just really looked like his knee was there. I like a fair game. You know what I'm saying? And who knows? It may not have mattered because we did win by 2 scores. So, but again, anything can happen in that situation. So I don't know, but I'll take it. It was good, and we didn't get any points off of it, but we may have prevented them from getting some points. So it was definitely a very exciting moment to kind of turn things around for the Packers.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the Packers' second attempt to convert on 4th down went much better than they did before. This one was also in the red zone. It wound up being a touchdown pass to Watson, I believe, with 17 seconds or minute 50 or something left in the first half, and it was a nice aggressive play call by LaFleur that actually paid off this time.
Yeah, I feel like this whole season, even outside of the Packers, has just been much more aggression on 4th down than I've ever seen in any other season. It's becoming such a question mark about whether or not teams are going to go for it on 4th down. And LaFleur has been right up there as well with being aggressive. I feel like it doesn't pay off for us as often as I would like, for obvious reasons. I am biased, but this one paid off and was really cool to see. But I was definitely gripping the couch as I was watching that one because we failed on the first one. So, but glad this one turned out. Another awesome one was a 21-yard run by A.J. Dillon. This one was actually set up by a 38-yard pass interference penalty on Chicago, which at that point was their largest gain of the day. Which is kind of sad, but I'm trying to look at it from positive. But that was really great to see. I love to see Dillon score.
It kind of actually reminds me of vintage Packers offense in the past few years, of where they seemed like they did try to set up a lot of big plays by getting penalties and everything, which is not necessarily the best way to do it. But I mean, when it works, it works. I would have loved to see Rodgers actually throw that a little bit out in front of Watson and get it. But the 21-yard run by Dillon, that was impressive. That was some great blocking and a great setup block by Sammy Watkins, who had another one later in the game. But before we get to that one, there was a huge third down stop in the fourth quarter that led to the missed field goal by Chicago. And the Packers took over on their own 30.
Yeah, that one felt really good because it was, I mean, not just because of the missed field goal. Obviously, that felt really good and helped us, win by 2 scores instead of 1. But that was a massive stop, with especially how the defense had been playing up to that point. It just felt like, all right, we might still have a chance at this. And lo and behold, we did. That was really cool. And we got to talk about that other touchdown, a rushing touchdown by Christian Watson. I did not expect a rushing touchdown from our rookie wide receiver, but that was awesome to see. We all kind of expected Green Bay to get a field goal to take a small lead at that point in the game, but instead Watson scampered for 46 yards for 6 points. And even better, they converted the 2-point conversion to put them ahead by 2 scores. This really felt like the dagger at this point in the game, but we had another one to talk about shortly.
Yeah, it really did feel like the dagger. The announcers actually said that was his first rushing touchdown, but if I'm not mistaken, he had a 15-yarder earlier in the season. Very similar play, jet sweep that he just took to the house. You know what? I was at the Philadelphia game last week. That was a ton of fun, even though we lost. But the TV does not do it justice on how fast Christian Watson is. Man, that guy can absolutely fly. And,
oh, really?
Yes. Oh, man, it is something to watch, to be honest with you. And
I'm really glad to see that he's coming into his own, because I think we were all worried about him at the beginning of the season with that, that first play of the season that he just dropped a 75-yard touchdown pass that would have really put some wind in our sails and then had the opposite effect. But wish I could see that in person.
Yeah, it was something to watch. But as you alluded before, that wasn't the actual dagger. Kayshawn Nixon picking off Justin Fields over on the sidelines, inevitably ending the game for them. Rodgers kneeling down. Final score 28-19. Pure bliss.
It was fantastic, and man, what an addition Nixon has been. I am getting nervous. I said this last week, but watching him run out of the end zone, like every time he gets his hands on the ball, I'm like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Yep. And it doesn't always pay off, but it seems like he routinely gets to at least the 30. And like I said last week too, he's holding on to the ball. So that's really what's important.
Hold on to the ball is the big thing.
Yeah. Amari who? That's what I'm kind of thinking. Anyway, last highlight I want to talk about, what's mostly highlights this week, which is awesome. The Packers finally broke an NFL record. This win by the Pack was their 787th win of all time. This broke a tie with the Packers for the most wins by a single NFL team in history. Now, I know the Packers have a bit of advantage because they are one of the oldest franchises in the league, but it feels pretty awesome to have that stat over on our side instead of Chicago's. Yeah. You agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they said that is if they end up being ahead of Chicago, that this will be the first time that they will start the season ahead of Chicago in that win total. Nice. So it'll be really nice to see.
Which is really nice to see, but it's also like, we have kind of a question mark over where the Packers are going to be next season. So it's funny to me that we did not hold that record for the past 3 decades when we had Favre and Rodgers, and now it's kind of like we don't know what's going to happen next season, but we got that. So
yeah, exactly.
All right, well, we do have a couple lowlights to talk about. First off, despite the turnovers, the defense really struggled against Justin Fields. I kind of expected this. They allowed a 56-yard rushing touchdown by Chicago. This made Fields third for over 50 yards, which makes him the only NFL player to do so. I got to give a tip of the hat to Justin Fields. He's really impressive to watch, although I got to say Chicago needs to be a little bit more careful with him. Especially, he's already suffered that shoulder injury. But I don't know if you heard it, but one of the announcers made a comment that kind of made me laugh just because I caught the reference. They made a Globo Gym comment saying, we're better than you, and we know it. Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny. Not only that, but there was another 50-plus yard play, one long pass set up, a Montgomery touchdown that same drive. They just were not handling that well whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's continuing to be a problem for them where they just cannot stop the run. They did outgain them in rushing yards this week. Chicago had 155 to our 175, 185, somewhere around there.
I think a lot of that, though, is attributed to the fact of how good their secondary was this week. I know that their front line is very young. They got a lot. They're still kind of working out the kinks with that line. But, man, they were all over our receivers like lampshades for the majority of this game. I think that's why our rushing yards outscored there, because the passing game just wasn't working.
Yeah, absolutely. And it rarely does, as we've talked many of times before, of just how much we should be running the ball compared to passing.
We're going to talk about it. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah, we will talk about it. Another low light here for us. Not challenging a pretty cut and dry call. A.J. Dillon, 2nd and 1, or 2nd and 3, whatever it was. He slips, he falls, he gets off the ground, doesn't get touched, gets a first down, and the refs rule him down by contact. You know what? It just it happens. But Matt LaFleur did not challenge it. Which, to be fair, I did actually not know that this was challengeable. But Matt LaFleur and the coaching staff actually should know that that is a challengeable play. Should have thrown the challenge flag. Instead, it's 3rd and 1, and we decided to throw a deep bomb instead of running the ball to try to make it first down. This is a continual thing with them where they get in these 3rd and shorts and continue to pass it, and it's unfortunate to continue to see this.
It's beyond frustrating, especially when Rodgers gets sacked, because it feels like he gets sacked on 3rd down more than any other down. It's just beyond frustrating. And I don't get it, because Rodgers clearly realized he wasn't touched. You could see him signaling to the sidelines. I don't understand that call. It wasn't like, what quarter was this? Was this the 3rd quarter?
I think it was the 3rd quarter.
So they were probably thinking that we got to save those timeouts, but
it was the first drive of the 3rd quarter.
Okay, so it was pretty early on in the second half, but at the same time, looking at that replay, it was blatantly obvious that he wasn't touched. It wasn't even like a question. Obviously, we weren't there in the stadium to see what was up on the screen, but I have to imagine that they could just look up there and see, yeah, he didn't get touched, and let's call that back. Again, the game went in our favor, so I'm not too upset about it. Probably would be a lot more upset if we lost, Absolutely. But that's the way it works. And like we mentioned just a second ago, the Packers just continue to insist on passing the ball so much. I get it. Christian Watson is super fast. Aaron Rodgers has a great arm, but he's got that broken thumb, and it's clearly not working. Right. But what is working is the run game, especially in those short yardages. I mean, if Dillon and Jones can get 3 to 5 yards on a carry, odds are you're going to get a first down. Just keep marching down the field. You know what I mean? Like, it's like us as fans are willing to accept the fact that we're a run first team instead of a pass first team, and Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur are not.
Yeah, they just continue to play this game where it's Aaron Rodgers' show, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not very happy to keep seeing it, but I was going to say that the rushing of Jones and Dillon looked great because of the line, though. And the line looked actually really good. You mentioned about Rodgers getting sacked on third downs, and that's very frustrating, but at least the line looked very good. That was another highlight we didn't mention earlier.
That's a good point. But overall, this is a highly entertaining game. It didn't feel like it was going to, I mean, even though we were losing in the first half, it was a back and forth game, and I never felt like we were completely out of the game. Even when we were down by 2 scores at the beginning, they just kept fighting and clawing their way back, and it wound up being very exciting at the end for obvious reasons as a Packer fan. But what a game! And I'm just so happy that we were able to defeat the Bears. It made going back to work today a lot easier, and I'm not very optimistic about our chances. 6% chance to make the playoffs. We got to have a lot of things go in our favor. Although that Washington New York game ending in a tie might have been the best thing to happen to us. Because those are the two teams in the NFC that beat us and are rivaling us for those wild card spots. So with neither of them getting a win, that's exactly what we needed to happen to that game. Could you imagine? Best case scenario, this works out and we somehow squeak our way into the playoffs, and it's because of that tie game. What are the chances of that happening? Oh,
it's very slim, as you've already mentioned, less than 6%. But you know what? We gotta keep our hopes up, right? Got to keep our hopes up.
Absolutely, and we finally get that much needed break.
Yes,
the bye is this week. I don't know if Bakhtiari is going to be back after that. What did he have, a appendicitis or something?
Oh, is that what it was? I did not see what it was.
I could be misremembering that, but I know that I knew he was going to be out because something just happened like 2 days before the game started, and he was not going to be there. He's been out and in so often, it's kind of hard to really even count on him anymore. But
absolutely,
there you have it. What a game. It was a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and jump into some listener feedback. Please join in on our upcoming podcast episodes by either calling the Packers Fan Podcast voicemail at area code 920-3PACK-GO, or if you'd like to, you can record your voice and email the recording to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com. It actually gets a really great quality if you record it right on your phone, even without earbuds. Just record it right on your phone, email it to us through the recording app on your phone. It's free, it's easy, it's good quality. We really do love it. The deadline for your calls, if you want to let us know what you hope to see against the Rams after the bye, is midnight Eastern Sunday night. Let's go ahead and jump into some calls. We've got 4 calls this week, some of the usuals as usual, but our first one comes from Mark in New Lisbon. So let's go ahead and listen.
Hey guys, Mark from New Lisbon. First call in a while. Great win for the Packers. It's always great to beat the Bears. And first of all, I have to say I'm cheering for the Packers to win. Unlike some fans who think it's smart to hope that the Packers lose just so they get a better draft pick. That just makes me laugh. But speaking of drafts, man, this last draft, 2022, looks like a home run for Gutekunst and the Packers. Christian Watson, man, he's the best receiver in the rookie class. I don't even think you can argue that now. 8 TDs in his last 4 games. And guys, his speed is just insane. So it's a home run pick for the much criticized Brian Gutekunst, who, half the Packer fans want fired. And then with that same theory on the draft, Walker leads all rookies, Quay Walker, in tackles. So he's been a beast. Zach Tom was great today, filling in for Bakhtiari. And then Romeo Doubs is still going to be a stud. So overall, the 2022 draft looks pretty good for the Packers. So great time for the bye week. Thanks for taking my call, and go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go indeed. Thank you so much for the call, Mark. Wow, what some interesting comments he made regarding the draft. That is something I would have not expected a Packer fan to say back when the draft actually took place, because, man, everybody was cursing Gutekunst's name after that. But he makes some solid points there, right? Christian Watson, Quay Walker, they're both leaders in their positions, in the rookie class, which, we're all praising his name now. I don't get it. I mean, maybe he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think Walker, has shown some flashes. He's definitely got the tools to be a great player. He definitely is still a rookie and still learning. Watson, the same thing. One name he didn't throw out there was Wyatt, who I know showed some flashes yesterday. Or I think it was in that big third down stop. At least one of those plays in that series where they just ate up the run in 2 straight plays, where he just shed a block and just absolutely ate up David Montgomery. And that was something, and that was great to see out of him, especially after kind of the very slow start that he's had to this season. Hopefully he can pick it up and continue it on to the rest of the year, and then get that sophomore blossom, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah, and I feel bad for saying this, but I forgot about Dobbs just because he's been injured for multiple weeks now. But he was really solid as well. I mean, I know that we've lost Devontae Adams, and the announcers can't stop mentioning that. They've gotten better, I guess, over the past couple weeks. But we've still got talent over there, and I don't know. I feel like Mark's call made me a lot more optimistic for next season. I know Wayne wants to slap my hand right now because I'm not super upbeat and positive about this season, but I think that next year is going to look a lot better than I was expecting. A few weeks ago when we're in our slump. So
yeah,
but wow. Thanks so much for the call, Mark. That was awesome. I really appreciate it. We got another one here from one of our favorites, Mr. Andre in LA. So good to hear from him as always. Take it away, Andre.
Go, Pack, go! Go, Pack, go! Happy belated Thanksgiving. Sorry I couldn't call last week. I threw out my back. I am at that age, but I was still able to get some good food. With that being said, thank God for our no-name Packer defense. They are incredibly underrated. I'm actually looking forward to next year because we have a young defense. A lot of them will get more experience. I think we locked up a few linemen and I forget the linebacker's name, but we have a great defense. No, not a great defense. We got a really good defense. Rodgers, thank you for gutting it out to the injuries. I'm not going to lie, a part of me actually wanted to see more of Jordan Love to see what our future was going to look like. Aaron Jones, thank you for helping your boy out in Fantasy League. I just wanted to keep updating you guys. I'm sitting pretty at the number 3 spot. I faced the number 1, and it looks like I'm going to win, so I'm sliding into that number 2, so close to the playoffs. Hey, at least some part of us is making the playoffs this year. With that being said, great coaching job by LaFleur. I'm glad the team didn't give up. They could have easily, it's a bad season or at least a disappointing season. They could have easily packed it in, but they came out, fought to the last minute. I love it. The Packer faithful are appreciative. We hate losing to the Bears. I will say this, we got to keep an eye out for Justin Fields. He is a little bit better than I thought he was. I know he wasn't awful, but he is not. He's slightly above good. I would say mediocre, which could be a problem if they ever get, a better offense. It was a great day. Spent it with family. Love you guys. I just wanted to call in because I didn't get a chance to call in last week. My back's still sore. But love you guys. Andre in LA, you know who it is. Love the Packer faithful. It's not our year. Still a fun watch. Who doesn't love watching us not whoop up on, but come back and take the hearts of the Bears. I love it. Go, Pack, go! Green and gold till I'm dead and cold. Andre in LA. Love you guys.
Thank you for that, Andre. Gosh, I love listening to you. This is the first time I actually get to say this on the podcast, but I love hearing your energy every single week. And I'm really sorry about your back, man. I mean, that just sounds terrible. So I hope you're doing better and everything.
Getting old sucks.
Getting old sucks. I'm not quite too old yet, but I turn 30 here soon, so I feel like my back's already getting there. But no, you made some great points. I do not like seeing the Packers lose to the Bears. So even though, like you said, wanted to see Jordan Love out there, I'll take a win any day. So
absolutely. I was actually going to ask you, his comment brought this up because I'm always talking to Wayne about this. I don't know if I've actually ever asked you this because obviously we're friends outside of this podcast, but how are you feeling about Love? And do you think it's time to start playing him, or do you think they should stick with Rodgers?
I thought they should have played him this week. I really
did as well.
I really did. I know we still have a mathematical chance to make the playoffs. I think it's very slim. Is there hope? Absolutely. And you always have, when you have a chance, you got to take the best man up. Sometimes I do not think that it is Aaron Rodgers. Just by the way that he has played. Not to say that is all on him. This has been a team effort, and as far as their losing streak and how the season has played out. But he has also not played up to his potential. So
yeah, and one thing that we didn't mention with Mark's call was talking about like losing the games on purpose for those draft picks. I've never been a big fan of that mentality anyway, but if there's any chance whatsoever, you still go for it.
Right.
I mean, just for the sheer possibility of making some kind of history. Like, could you imagine the Cinderella story of this team that lost, 6 of 7 games in a row, and came back and squeaked in with a wild card thanks to a bye? Just any possibility of some amazing story like that happening, I want to see it happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you always take the chance. I never wanted them to lose to take draft picks. The only reason why I would ever wanted them to quote unquote lose is so we could see Jordan Love. I think there's a couple of tough games that are coming up for the rest of the season, and we might see Jordan Love here make a couple of starts, especially if they get mathematically put out of it. But until then, we're probably going to ride the Aaron Rodgers train. So.
I think that's the only way that we're going to legitimately see Jordan Love start is if we get eliminated, like no possibility whatsoever. Yeah. I think as long as there's still a chance, with as much as they're paying Rodgers, they've got to play him. It's just, unless he's like beyond injured, not able to play kind of thing, then obviously that's going to be a completely different story. But especially if they're looking towards next year, they don't want, why take the risk of injuring him, because they got him for 2 more years. You know what I mean?
Right.
The other thing I wanted to say about Andre's voicemail was I was kind of baffled by the way that he described Justin Fields as like, just better than mediocre. Have you seen the dude play the last few weeks, man?
He's been playing really well.
I know that he's been just kind of like whatever for, since he started, but he's really taken off this season, and, he's poised to be like another Michael Vick or Lamar Jackson kind of thing. But, we all saw what happened to Lamar Jackson this week. So
yeah.
Bears have to be careful with him for sure.
Yeah, I think Justin Fields is someone we do have to look out for here
for sure.
The next 10, 12 years maybe.
Yeah, but hey, LaFleur is 8-0 against the Bears. That's like one feather in his cap. I know he's lost his whole like never lost 2 games in a row thing. That was long gone. But at least he can say he's never lost to the Bears, so he's got that going for him.
Woo.
All right, let's go into our next caller. This one comes from Megan. Here we go.
Happy Victory Monday, everybody. Go Packers! I lost my voice again, and all I did was listen to the game. I could not even get it because I live in Minnesota, unfortunately, and they also played at noon. But what a game. I'm trying to keep this short and sweet. First of all, Wayne, I hope you are feeling better. I hope the Packers win gave your immune system a little boost. Oh, I loved how they stuck with the run, despite not always having success in the beginning. Okay, I was thinking, we tend to run the ball like every other game. So if next week is our not running week because it's the bye, then hopefully we are back with the running game when the Rams come to town. That's just the way it kind of seems to work. Watson is just, wow. He's incredible. He's really incredible. My notes say Watson is fire. I hope Jonesy is okay and feeling better. It was really cool to see AJ get some time though and dominate. I was thinking like AJ Dillon, the type of running back we like in the winter in December in Green Bay, and this is the time to shine. And he's shining. I predicted that interception to make up for his, to kind of, oops. I need to see a replay of that because it was really awesome to hear and envision, and I just need to see it from my eyes, in front of my face. Mason. I know Dan thinks that it's time for him to hang up his cleats, but he still is clutch. He still is awesome when he needs to be. And, yeah, also Nixon, geez, he's good in many, many ways. I like him a lot. Defensively, I don't know what it feels like to be tackled by Kenny Clark, but it can't be comfortable. And it was good to hear that he was kind of dominating. Preston Smith sounded like he had a really awesome game too. And okay, hold on. Sorry, I'm kind of distracted. Oh, Dean Lowry, I need to see that too. The blocked field goal coming in clutch. He does that. He's kind of like the silent killer sometimes. He's just like always there, doing his job. And we don't talk about him much. He doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes, but he's always just there doing his thing. I did see a replay of Aaron walking up the field, and it made me kind of emotional because I don't know. What do other people think about that? Is he like saying goodbye? Like, this might be my last time playing at Soldier Field or playing at Packer, playing at all. Let's go Pack, go! Green and gold, silver, dead and cold, baby, let's go!
Thanks for that, Megan. Yeah, I have to agree with you. As far as Kenny Clark goes, I do not want to get hit by that man either. That is a big guy.
I don't even want a stern glance from him.
No. No, and he shares a last name with you, so if he gives you a stern glance, then that means you're in trouble. Especially
exactly. It was the easiest jersey purchase I've ever made, honestly, because it just makes sense. You know, like how often do you get a stud of a player that has the same last name as you? So it worked out well for me. What's great was, I don't know if anybody told this, but remember when we had J.K. Scott as our kicker? So I bought my wife a J.K. Scott jersey, and unfortunately that's kind of worthless now, but I got a picture of the two of us with Scott and Clark. It was like, yeah, that's great. What are you thinking about Mason Crosby? I know she mentioned that Dan is thinking it's time for him to be done, but he did pretty well.
He did, but you know what? I kind of have to agree that it's coming down to the end for Mason Crosby. Even though he is still kicking field goals pretty well, unfortunately,
especially in the wind.
Yeah, he is. Unfortunately, he is not doing kickoffs very well though. That's something where I'm like really seeing the age in Mason Crosby right now. It's because he's
good point,
because he's not making much for touchbacks. I think I saw a stat a couple weeks ago where he's only getting a touchback like 27% of the time, which is
that's a really low number for that.
Very low number, especially from where they're kicking at.
Mm-hmm. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Megan, for the call. As always, it's great to hear from you. We got one more. Comes from Mr. Dan Dialer. So get ready for your, I'm assuming, your go Pack, go. Let's see if I'm right.
Go Pack, go! Hey, before I even say anything else, Wayne, get better fast. Hopefully this Packer win is the salve that you need to get over the hump. Positive thoughts, prayers, they're all going your way, buddy. Can't wait to hear that you're back at 100%. Yeah, the first 3 quarters, kind of slow, kind of meh. And then they figured out, maybe we need to run the ball. Just like Scott always says, they need to realize that this is a run-first team. Go run heavy. And eventually, once they did, see what happens? 18 unanswered points in the fourth quarter alone. There was actually more rushes than passes, 32 rushes, 31 pass attempts. I'd like to see Jaire, maybe he needs to eat some humble pie because he got burned twice. But then in Dumb and Dumber, Lloyd and Harry fashion, then he goes out and gets an interception and totally redeems himself. Rudy Ford, Rudy, he's making his presence known, had that fumble recovery, which was awesome. Devondre Campbell, they definitely needed him back. That was his first game back, and he actually led the team in tackles. That's pretty awesome. But how can you ignore Christian Watson? Another 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 through the air. On that little run play, which was really more of a touch pass, but it went behind the line, behind Rodgers. It went backwards instead of forward, so it was considered a run. He reached 21.72 miles an hour. That is nuts. That is so fast. We only have 4 games left. Thankfully, we got this bye week coming up, especially with Aaron Jones getting banged up in this game, that shin injury. But it was so weird. Like, he was in, he was out, didn't know really what was going on. But Romeo Doubs should be back. You got 2 weeks of more rest, and they said that he actually practiced. He actually practiced in limited capacity this week, so that's a good sign that he should be back for the Rams game. Bakhtiari had that emergency appendectomy, so he should be back. I love the interview that Rodgers gave at the end of the game, and they asked him about why he waved at the fans, and he said, well, you never know when it's going to be your last one. He said, this place has been like a second home to me, but I want to let the fans know that I'm still here. I think maybe Scott might like that quote a little more than the I still own you one. And that makes 8 wins in a row against the same team for Rodgers with no interceptions, which is the most ever in the NFL. Speaking of other records, Aaron Jones only needs 15 more yards to become the Green Bay Packers' 3rd all-time leading rusher. So hopefully I'll see that next week when we go to the Rams, or the Rams come to us, I should say. This is not the game that I was expecting it to be at the beginning of the season. The Rams are just decimated with injuries. There's going to be no Matt Stafford. There's going to be no Cooper Kupp, no Allen Robinson. The offensive line is just tore apart. They're the only Super Bowl era team to use a different starting 5-man lineup on the offensive line in their first 11 games. Their leading rusher only has 334 yards on the entire season, which is probably why ESPN Analytics have us predicted with an 83.6% chance of winning. And I hope we win because I'm going to be there, front row, around the 20-yard line. A buddy of mine, I don't know what he just gifted me, him and his family, one of his sons, his dad and him are going up, and he asked me if I wanted to go. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course I want to go. And he gifted me a front row ticket. I don't know what sideline it's going to be, but it's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait going up, spend about 3-4 days up there, experience the Titletown District, go to the Hall of Fame, do the stadium tour, maybe the trolley tour if there's an opportunity to do that. I just can't wait to be up in my favorite place on earth, especially during the Christmas season. Speaking of the Christmas season, I hope all y'all have a happy holidays, and go, Pack, go!
Go, Pack, go indeed. Thank you so much, Dan. As always, it's awesome to hear from you. I love Dan's insight. He's one of the most entertaining people in our weekly threads. He's got a lot of good insight. I love how fired up he gets whenever a bad call goes. He's even worse than Wayne in that regard. But Dan is going to another game, and he was gifted a front row ticket. I am just blown away. I don't know if you saw the picture he posted in our Facebook group, David, but he's going as Pack Sparrow, and I believe his buddy is Jason Voorhees.
Yep, I did see that.
I mean, if he's in the front row and they're both in that costume, there's got to be a really good chance that we're going to see those guys on TV.
We are definitely going to be seeing a wild Pack Sparrow out there. And
yeah,
man, that's awesome.
I'm going to have to record the game. I'm going to have to find a VCR or something. I don't even know if I have a DVR on my cable box. I'm going to have to do that. He had a lot of good points about the Rams game. I'm going to kind of hold my thoughts for that till next week when we preview that game. I want to have something to talk about during the bye week, but he had some really interesting stats to talk about. You remember it was a longer voicemail, so I didn't write them down.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of the later ones in the call were about the Rams and them being decimated. But what did you think about his call?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Dan and I kind of have like a love-hate relationship on Facebook. No real hate, just we like to disagree with each other a lot, or maybe I like to disagree with him. But it's all love Dan. It's. I thought he made a lot of good points about. I think he said that it was about 32 to 31 passes to rushes. If I'm not mistaken, I think that might be right. Actually, I know we talked about her earlier. It was a lot more pass to rushes, but I do think they actually did rush the ball quite a bit more. So if that's actually the case, maybe we gotta quit talking about how we're not running the ball as much.
Yeah, I think it just gets frustrating when we see us pass as
it.
often as we do unsuccessfully.
Yeah,
so
when we do it.
Yeah, so it makes it feel like it's that we're not running the ball as much as we'd like. So yeah, I'm probably just whining a little bit.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, we do that all the time. So we like to whine.
Yeah.
That's how we are as Packers fans.
I really hope that at some point I get to go to a game with some of these guys. Dan apparently just goes to every game.
Yeah, right.
Like he even went to London. He's going to Green Bay, and he's gonna just hang out there for 3 or 4 days. I want this dude's schedule for sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or the cash flow that he's got going in. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, right. Well, he got this ticket for free, so who knows?
Yeah,
but now, a lot of our listeners might not know this, but you are a doctor. So can you confirm? Is an appendectomy? Is that appendicitis?
Yep. He was totally right. Appendectomy is removal of the appendix. And so David Bakhtiari, like you already alluded to, he had appendicitis, so he got his appendix taken out. That's pretty much the treatment for appendicitis.
So what kind of a recovery are we on that? Will he be okay to play in 2 weeks with the Rams?
I actually don't see why not.
Okay.
It's not a very invasive procedure. They do it laparoscopy, which is essentially just putting some ports. I'm trying to say cameras inside. They make like 3 incisions, and then they just pull out the appendix. It's not a lot.
Oh. Do they like disintegrate it on the inside of your body and then suck it out, or?
So they actually just cut it. They cut it out. They gotta obviously stop the blood flow so you don't bleed out inside. But they'll just pull it out. So as long as no complications went, which we didn't hear any, so
gotcha.
Very simple procedure.
I'll have to have you just come on and give us an injury report of it. You'll be our Jay Glazer for the Packers Fan Podcast. How about that?
And this week, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. All right, well, moving on, we are going to do our weekly poll this week. And if you want to join those, we had all these posted on our community, which can be found at packerscommunity.com. And so the question this week was, which of next week's games are you most interested in watching since our Packers are on their bye week? We got quite a few selections here. Here were the ones that Wayne put together. First off, we've got Jets at Bills. We've got Vikings at Lions. We've got Eagles at Giants. And then we've got Bucks at 49ers, and then Dictus added a write-in vote for Red Zone, which some of us aren't lucky enough to have Red Zone. But what do you think there, David? Which game are you most interested in checking out?
If I'm being perfectly honest, I chose the Jets at the Bills, only just because that those are 2 teams that are playing pretty well right now, and would actually like to see that one just for the entertainment factor.
I'm with you there. I think that game is going to be one of the more fun games just to watch, just to see what happens.
Yeah.
Because who would have known that the Jets would have been good this year, that the Dolphins would have been good this year, that the Rams were going to be terrible.
Right.
That the Bucks weren't going to be all that great. Like, it's just been that the Packers were going to be awful this year. Like, it's just been a comedy of errors all over the season. So I'm with you on the Jets and Bills. I'm just because of the division, I'm pretty interested to see the Vikings at Lions. As much as I hate to cheer for anything from Detroit, I would really like to see Detroit just win that one. They've been on a hot streak too, but at the same time, we kind of need them to lose too to have any kind of shot with a wild card. So I can't root for Minnesota. I don't think I can do it.
No, I can't either. I can never root for Minnesota.
I could in the playoffs. I know Wayne yelled at me a couple weeks ago, and I said I would root for them in the playoffs because they are due. But I don't know. After some of the lashing I got from Vikings fans on Twitter a couple weeks ago, maybe I'm going to change my tune. But I think we're both going to go with Jets at Bills just for sheer entertainment factor.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding any hopes for us, but Dan Dyler actually had a comment that I thought was interesting because of the possibilities that it has for the Packers. He says Eagles at Giants because that has the most potential playoff implications for us. I know it's a long shot, but as long as there's a chance, there's a chance. Any given Sunday, especially after the tie between the Giants and Commanders, which, again, what a huge play that was.
And I'd like to also do a Dan Dyler and quote Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance?
I love it. I love it. So thank you, everybody, for participating. Let's go ahead and get those results, too. Only 8% agreed with you and I, David, on the Jets at Bills. And I think that might have been just you.
I think that was just me.
But 44% said Vikings at Lions, 34% said Eagles at Giants, and there was a tie at 7% for Bucks at 49ers and a red zone. That probably would have been higher if red zone were a little bit easier to access for people. But man, some of those packages are really expensive.
Yeah,
so there you have it. We've also got an email that came in. Says, this is CCR from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Boy, what a fantastic game we played. A few good plays, including 2 touchdowns. Although we won, we must work on our run defense. We can't allow that many running touchdowns like we did against the Bears. Until next time, go Pack Go. Bleed green and gold till dead and cold. Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher. Thank you so much, guys. Always a pleasure to hear from you. And as always, your calls, emails, comments, and support are so much a part of the Packers Fan Podcast. Thank you so much. Remember to join the PFP Facebook community and be part of the conversations at packerscommunity.com. Since it's the bye week next week, we'll be waiting till next week's episode to talk about the game against the Los Angeles Rams, including my keys to a Packers victory. But we're going to go ahead and discuss our 2022 Wager O Fun. Here is where things are standing right now. This past week, Wayne and I both predicted that the Packers were going to win this game. I predicted 24-20. Wayne predicted 21-17. I had a differential of 5, and Wayne had a differential of 9 because the final score was 28-19, which means, David, I am one step closer to Mr. Wayne Henderson.
Whoop, whoop.
The score is 4-3. I only need one more win to tie him. So you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah, you're telling me there's a chance.
I would really like to see Wayne play some Madden. And I'm not a big Pokemon guy, so man, me and Wayne playing Madden on live for everyone to watch just sounds like an absolute riot because he's never played a Madden game. So hopefully that happens. But also, our Packers Fan Podcast listeners section also made some predictions, and the leader this week was Mr. Garrett Stritzel, who predicted a Green Bay win of 31-16, which was a differential of only 6 points. That actually gives him 3 total wins this season and bumps him up to first place. Mr. Newman, you are tied with Jay Walters with 2 wins for second place, and in third place, we got a 4-way tie between Brett Connor, Alex Bartman, Dan Dyler, and superfan Aaron Peterson. So it's a pretty tight race there. You're still in that one. You're still a possibility in that one too, man.
Yeah, I am. I completely forgot to do it this week, so that might have been why. That's the problem.
That was an epic fail, man. Epic fail.
Epic fail.
But yeah, stay tuned for next week because obviously we don't have predictions because we're going to hold off until we get a little bit closer to the Rams game. But David, why don't you give us the standings right now?
Yeah, in the NFC North, unfortunately, we have the Vikings at 10-2. I'm just going to say boo. The Lions are in second place, also unfortunately at 5-7. Your Green Bay Packers are currently in third place at 5-8. And the Bears are sitting in last place at 3-10. So hopefully
officially eliminated.
Officially eliminated. So hopefully the Packers can overtake the Lions and at least get to second place.
We'll give it a shot, man. I'd rather take second place over third by far for sure. So before we get out of here, we have some other NFL happenings that caught my eye this week. First off, the Browns win over the Texans. It was a score of 27-14. This was crazy to me because there was no touchdowns scored by the Browns offense this game. 2 of those touchdowns were scored by the defense, and 1 of the touchdowns was scored by special teams. that was just insane to me. I don't know if I've ever seen that happen, and that's just a crazy stat to me. Plus, that was the return of Deshaun Watson, which I know caused a lot of controversy, which we won't get too much into, but you know how it is.
Yeah, actually, I will say that they did boo them on the field. So a little bit of drama going on, not to be expected, I guess. Another big thing that happened this week, Lamar Jackson left the game against the Broncos due to a knee injury. The initial tests were a knee sprain. The MRI took place today. From my understanding, was they looked okay. Was not season ending. Immediately after the game, Coach Harbaugh said it's not a season ending type of knee. We'll get more tests tomorrow and let you know how long it's going to be. We'll see. Hopefully I have something for you tomorrow afternoon. Certainly by Wednesday, it'd be more definitive. But it's going to be a number, days to weeks. We'll see. We'll see if he can go back this week. If not, he'll be sometime after that shortly, which is a much longer press conference than I would think Bill Belichick would just for the whole press conference and just not just one question. So
yeah, that's a good point. So I do like Lamar Jackson. He's been a lot of fun to watch. I hate to see a player go down, and he looked very much in pain.
Yeah, he definitely did. Knee sprains are very tough, and it's kind of weird because even like a torn ACL, you can walk on them, but they're just so devastating of an injury. One other one that I did want to mention, Kenneth Walker, the running back for the Seattle Seahawks, he had a weird injury. He didn't have an ankle sprain. He had an ankle jam, which is like the ankle just kind of pushing in into like his, I guess, foot bones really is what good way to put it. So it was really an odd one. So I just want to mention that one.
Interesting. Also, Jimmy Garoppolo went out pretty early as well, didn't he?
He broke his foot and he is out for the season, unfortunately for him. I don't like seeing any players going out. So
I agree. I even on rival teams, I will never wish injuries on anybody.
Nope.
I will say it helped my fantasy team out a little bit this week because the guy I was playing against, his normal starting quarterback was on a bye, and he put in Garoppolo in this week, and he went out like in the first quarter. So that's helping me out a little bit. Don't know what that's going to do for me, but there you have it. All right, well, this is the last week of buys in the NFL. Week 14 has not only Green Bay, but also Atlanta, Chicago, Indianapolis, New Orleans, and Washington, D.C., and then we are in to the last few weeks of this season. So no more bye weeks. Everybody's playing, and looking forward to the final weeks of football. Even if the Packers don't make it, man, I love playoff season. And sometimes these last couple games can be garbage, because people aren't really playing if they've already clinched and stuff like that. But the playoffs are where it gets going, and I love the wild card games, and I had football on Saturdays now and then. I just love playoff season so much. All right, I want to give everybody another quick reminder about my other podcast, The Gaming Outsider. We're going to be releasing its latest episode this Thursday. This week, CB and I are joining with Kevin, one of our listeners, and we're discussing games that we can't play for whatever reason, but wish that we could. Both of CB and I, both played a brand new game called Callisto Protocol that we've been looking forward to for quite a while. It's one of our most anticipated games of the year, and I would love it if you guys checked it out. Our website is thegamingoutsider.com, or you can also check out that show the same place you listen to this fine show. As always, we've got a value for value model here over at the Packers Fan Podcast. Thank you for giving back to the PFP via your Patreon support. If you'd like some details on that for becoming a fan and other ways that you can give back to the show, go to PackersFanPodcast.com/give back. Dan Dyler, who we heard from a little bit earlier, thank you, sir, for all of your support of the podcast at the Jim Ringo level, and Go Pack Go. Also, Go Pack Go, and thanks to Jay Walters for your AR-12 pledge. And we got Go Pack Goes and thank yous to these fabulous Brett Favre level patrons: Scott Boers, Miguel Ramirez from the Opposites Attract podcast, Andre in LA, and Colum Nolan from Ireland. And lastly, our Curly Lambo level Go Pack Goes and thank yous go to Joe Christensen, Matt Haig, and Hank Davis from the TPE Network. Again, if you too are interested in supporting the show and maybe even becoming a patron of the Packers Fan Podcast, check out the details at PackersFanPodcast.com/give back. As a reminder, we are the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, not yet affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, but please follow the PFP where you listen to your podcast, and always tell a friend. We appreciate it more than you know, because we would love to hear from each and every one of you. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at PackersFanPod. You can follow my personal Twitter handle at GoCastScott, and Wayne's is at Wayne Henderson. I'd like to thank my guest co-host, David Newman, for joining me on this week's episode. It was a lot of fun chatting with you, my friend.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on here.
And where can our listeners follow you and any projects you're working on right now?
My Twitter handle is at DNewm, NEWM013. That's at DNewm013. And then I have a podcast that should be coming up in January called Keeping It Mediocre, in parentheses, at best. And then also you can also check out my writing works on thegamingoutsider.com. I have put out 5 so far.
Nice. And you've been a great addition to the team, man. Love all the work you do over there. So thank you so much. It was a lot of fun, man. This is great. So before we head out of here, we got one last thing to keep us focused as we head into the bye week. It's Patreon supporter Dan Dyler.
All right, this is Dan, a.k.a. Pack Sparrow, and Brett.
Coming in from Tottenham, all the way from London, England. And this is the Go Pack Go.
Go, 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 go.
Go Pack Go!